I've got Gerry Baker with us now, Fox News contributor and Wall Street Journal editor at large. Gerry, good to have you here. Just what would you say to what you just heard from JD Vance there, taking on Kamala Harris on her economic record? Is this the winning message for the Trump-Vance campaign in this moment?
I think it is a very powerful message because it manages to bring together the two primary sources of weakness for Kamala Harris and for the Biden administration, which is the economy and immigration. And he makes the point that, and look, the economy, I know we keep hearing the U.S. economy is doing well, relatively well. It's true by kind of relative standards, but everybody, that just simply ignores the fact that we've seen this enormous increase in prices over the last 4 years, not matched by a significant increase in wages, with very small increase in real incomes for real Americans. That's what people are unhappy about. That explains people's, it's not vibes or, or reading propaganda or anything like that. That explains why people are unhappy with the economy, because we've seen these big increase in prices and wages have hardly kept pace. But what he's done here, I think, in this speech, and I think he's very, very effective at this, is he's linking the weakness of the U.S. economy. And he obviously talks about not just the price issue, but things like the fact that communities have been devastated by drugs, that, communities have been devastated by globalization, by businesses going abroad. He's linking that to the immigration crisis that we have too, which is that millions of people have come across the border illegally with all kinds of schemes dreamt up by the Biden and Harris administration to essentially allow them to do that. And he's saying, look, the Biden-Harris administration cares more about housing and looking after and making sure people who have no right to be in this country, that they have a better standard of living somehow and they have a better life than Native American or American citizens. And I think that's a very powerful message, linking concerns about the economy with the very clear evidence that this administration has taken an approach to immigration that frankly seems to be, let them all come in and we'll support them.
Yeah. It's interesting how you immediately tied in the immigration crisis to the economic one, because you almost can't separate the two. I mean, we've had everyday Americans on this program telling us how greatly they are affected in their communities because of the influx of migrants. And we're talking about communities far from the southern border. Gerry, just want to put some numbers up on the screen as far as the border numbers and those gotaways under the Biden-Harris administration and this border crisis. I mean, we're just talking about massive numbers of gotaways that have been happening. And these are the numbers people are feeling in their local communities. And this is the latest polling on who's more trusted on this issue. It does go to Trump. Those who say they trust him a great deal more on this issue, by double digits, they say it's Donald Trump. Those who say some, it's her. But dead even on those who say they don't trust them much at all or not at all. Those are pretty big numbers as well. I'll let people decide what they think of that while I give you this brand new news from Griff Jenkins. Our own Griff Jenkins is reporting this right now. Gerry, Fox News can right now confirm, it was a report from earlier today, that DHS has identified more than 600 migrants with possible ties to the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, and more than 100 of those, Gerry, had enough gang confirmation to be deemed, quote, subjects of interest that DHS recommended be placed on the FBI's watch list for transnational criminal organizations. That's just into us now. Griff Jenkins confirming that. Gerry, that is stunning.
It is, and it fits the larger pattern that we've seen, and that's obviously very good reporting there from Fox. It fits the larger pattern we've seen of, tens of thousands of people coming into the country with known criminal backgrounds, with known connections to gangs or to transnational criminal organizations. It fits that larger picture of just a completely reckless approach to the border. And just back to those numbers that you showed there, Sandra, because they are important too. The Biden administration and Harris are trying to make a big deal out of the fact that the number of encounters at the border, apprehensions at the border, have declined quite significantly since they brought in these measures back in, I think it was June, to tighten procedures at the border. That's completely a statistical mirage, Sandra. It's a piece of sleight of hand, because it is true that those numbers have declined. But as you saw from in that panel, in that chart that you showed, in that graphic you showed, under this CBP-1 program, this special app that people can essentially short circuit or shortcut the whole asylum process by downloading this app, applying for it, and getting kind of almost automatic temporary 2-year approval to stay in the country while their asylum claim is processed. And we know that they're never going to be caught. They're never going to face a court. So what they've done, again, it's a little bit complicated. What the administration has done is it's basically managed to cut the official numbers of people being apprehended at the border or having to go through that process at the border by giving them, JD Vance talks about this a lot and he's absolutely right, by giving them this shortcut, which essentially still enables them to avoid doing all the things you need to do to become a citizen of this country or a legal resident of this country, and proclaiming, hey, look, we've cut the numbers. They haven't cut the numbers at all.
Yeah, and I think I want to end with this because I think it's really important to get this in here. This is Mark Cuban, who we know, Gerry, is out on the trail. He's been stumping for Harris. He's firmly in her camp. He says that he defends the border policies under this administration because it was about compassion. Listen to this.
Yeah. I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them. But they figured it out. They learned.
Their hearts were too big. Vance responded by saying it's not compassionate to allow Mexican drug cartels to sex traffic children into the United States of America. And it's not compassionate to allow hundreds of thousands of American citizens to die of fentanyl overdoses. Real quick final thought, Gerry.
All I'd say, Sandra, to that is they're so compassionate. They're too compassionate. We don't deserve them, do we really? We don't deserve these leaders because they're too good for us. That's ridiculous. They came in intent on overturning all of the Trump restrictions because they wanted to send a signal to people that anybody could come into the United States. They were open. Look, and you can have different views about this. You can think it's, as some people do, because they want to admit large numbers of illegal migrants who can then ultimately become U.S. citizens and vote, and they think they tend to vote more Democratic. Or you can just think that they don't really believe in borders. I tend to take that view, that this administration is full of people with a very progressive view that we shouldn't be imposing a border. It's a completely contrary to the whole idea of law and of American values.
A lot to dig into there. Gerry, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandra.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.